Okay. Cool. Something. Sure. What do you guys know that a huge attack, well, not an attack, actually just that he suicided a very important wallet in Ethereum. It was a wallet, actually it was a library contract. And in that contract, that huge, there were a bunch of wallets that were actually, when someone killed, really froze around $150 million dollars worth of ether a couple hours ago. So I'm abstract because the White Hat Group, of course, is involved to try to test these things out, but I'm not sure that it's working. I mean, I don't think there's anything that we can do, fortunately. Oh, we're trying a new link. Daria is on top of it. Daria just sent me a new link to try. Hey guys. Sound. Just a moment, I'm going to plug the computer. Can you just work better? Okay, so I guess we're in it. I can't hear you now. Oh yeah, no, I can. Good. Okay. Sure, yeah. Yeah, can you hear me, right? Okay, cool. So yeah, so this random guy today unfortunately just decided to have some contract and he killed. Better? Can you hear me better in here? It's not. Hmm. Well, let's see. Because yesterday I tried over here and it worked pretty well. How's this? Does it sound okay? No? Yeah, I'm doing a speed test. It looks like the internet's not any better over here. Okay. It looks a little better. Unless I go over here. I would prefer to be out here because the light's nice. Assuming that there's no issues. I mean, I can see you guys just fine. See Andy.
Ну не, ну куда уж там. Пусть к нам приезжает. Он отказался приезжать. Вообще? Да. Он сказал, что у него правило ездить только туда. Можно в сланцах ходить. В сланцах ходить? Да. Так пусть ходит. Техника. Буквально через 5 минут мы свяжемся по скайпу, и, возможно, звук пойдет, по крайней мере, по-английски. Можно, кстати говоря, узнать, кто не владеет английским в аудитории в той степени, чтобы слушать презентацию? 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. Хорошо, сейчас посмотрим. Нет, он очень понятно говорит. Я его попросила говорить медленно и без выражения. Да, нет, я просто думаю, если людей мало, может быть, мы просто рядом с переводчиком вас посадим, чтобы... Ну, просто...
Hi. Hello. On. I hear you just fine. Are you guys able to hear me? I can see what's going on in your guys' place. That's cool. Hey, guys. Oh, hey, and reactions. That's great. Okay. Well, I don't know. I can't really hear anything on your end, but I will say, have you guys been hearing what's going on in Ethereum today? There was a huge hack. No, it's not really a hack. It's kind of interesting. Somebody who seems to be verified was just messing around with the old parity multi-sig hack that the White Hat group was working on a few months ago, and we rescued $210 million from all these random vulnerable multi-sigs. Parity had also had redeployed a new version, and that new version also was susceptible to another different type of hack. Basically, they had the same function that was a problem the first time was a problem again, and they failed to init wallet when they deployed the library, which allowed a random user that was just playing around to actually suicide their library contract. When they suicided that library contract, that all the multisigs that pointed to it actually became useless. At least they became black holes. You can still send money to them, luckily, I guess, but so it's not completely worthless, but you'll never get the money out, so it's a bad idea. So that's really too bad. I believe at least the two groups I know that were affected, or I've heard were affected, were Polkadot, that recent ICO, which was Gavin Woods and the Parity team's kind of cross-chain new blockchain that they were going to create, and then Economy. I believe they also were affected, although maybe I shouldn't say that because I'm not 100% sure. That's just what Reddit is saying. So yeah, but that's just the news today. I don't know, should I just start talking? Are we good to go? Can I get some thumbs up? Okay, well, the guy in the red shirt says thumbs up, so I'm going to keep going. So I'm just going to talk about, oh, is there a translation thing going on? Should I pause more? Okay, that sounds good. So I'll try to speak slowly and with pauses. So my name's Griff Green. I got into this space because I was excited about the revolutionary aspects of blockchain technology. The fact that the main feature of blockchain tech that is extremely innovative is that you can have a single source of truth without requiring a central point of control. The best analysis for this, or the best analogy for this, in my opinion, is real estate. In at least the US, there's this group called the county auditors. The county auditors actually control the document that says who owns what pieces of property. And they are the only ones who are allowed to edit that. So if you want to sell a piece of property to another person, you have to go through them. And that's just convenient. That was the way it had to be before blockchain tech. Because that was the only way to be able to trust that that document held all the information. But now we have blockchain technology, and we can create a single source of information that everyone can go to when they want to know what's happening. And we can allow selective right access to that single source of truth to every participant that is involved. This is the key innovation in blockchain tech. And what it allows is pretty incredible. Because when you scale that up, one of the coolest things that at least got me really excited were DAOs. So a DAO, a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, is very similar to a government. A government is effectively a centralized autonomous organization. So this allows you to have many people working together and voting, reaching consensus in whichever governance method they choose to participate in a decentralized manner. The first DAO that ever existed was Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a DAO, and it didn't really come to my attention that Bitcoin was a DAO until I started working with Slockit to build the DAO. Hey, how is my speed, by the way? Daria? Am I going too fast, too slow? Okay, perfect. So with Slockit, we were trying to build what we call the universal sharing network. And the universal sharing network was going to try to create an access-based economy. But to do that, we needed some form of governance over that market for various reasons. But mostly so that it could evolve effectively. And we decided to build a DAO to do that, because a central point of control could be influenced, maybe, and that just, but anyway, the reasons were many. And when we built it, the programming language that we used was only 8 months old. And so, unfortunately, it didn't work out. There was a huge bug, and $50 million was stolen by a hacker. a few friends of mine and I decided to attack and attack the hackers, because actually there was one big hacker, but then there were several other small ones. And including us, we actually were able to hack about $100 million out of the DAO and secure it for the hard fork. We also used the funds that we were able to hack to attack the other attackers. There was about a month there in the Ethereum space where we had DAO wars. And the DAO wars were insane, and I can go into more detail about that if you guys ask questions. I am going to talk about several topics really quickly, and I'm going to hope that you all have many questions so I can go into more details about the ones you guys are interested in. So when the hard fork happened, we all learned a lot about blockchain technology. And the coolest thing about it was that we learned that you cannot impose your values on other people with this technology. It's pretty powerful in that way. Even though almost everyone agreed in the Ethereum community that this hard fork was the best idea out of a lot of out of a bad situation. This was the best solution. There were some people who did not agree. And those people, the way all of these chains work is that there is a bunch of random nodes running the same open source code, or at least similar enough. And to change anything in those codes, everyone has to agree to the upgrade for them to be part of that change. If they don't agree, then they are on the old code. And if there is a backwards incompatibility, then there are two coins created. And that's what happened in the hard fork after the DAO. Ethereum changed the code to steal the money from the hacker and give it back to the people that were affected. The people who wanted the hacker to keep the money because they believed in preserving immutability, then they were able to do nothing, and the hacker kept the money. And that's really interesting, because now both communities have their currency. There's ETC, Ether Classic, for the people who wanted the hacker to keep their funds, and then Ether, where all the development continued. And ETC maintained a value. And so both communities got to maintain their currency of choice without coercion. It's very interesting. When that happened, the white hat group was very surprised. We ended up having 10% of all Ether in existence before the hard fork. And after the hard fork, we ended up with 10% of all ETC in existence. There were some technical issues, and we didn't really want to distribute ETC for relay protection issues and user issues. It was very difficult to sync the ETC chain. Also, there was we didn't know if ETC would survive. This was a very new thing. So, but we ended up returning everyone's ETC, and we're still returning ETC to this day, actually. Then the white hat group, after that action, decided to start a project called Giveth. Giveth was kind of to me, it's the happy ending of the DAO. We want to allow for non-profits to be started using DAO technology. We want people to be able to group together who share the same values about changing the world in the same way. You know, maybe ending homelessness in St. Petersburg. Everyone who cares about ending homelessness in St. Petersburg can go into the same chat room, and they can talk about these ideas in an effective manner and propose solutions. And with blockchain technology, we can provide complete transparency and accountability for the use of any funds that go towards projects with that end goal. I'm talking really fast, so I'll slow down. So, Giveth is itself one of these organizations. We're calling them, instead of a DAO, we're calling them a DAC, a decentralized altruistic community. Because we don't believe that technology actually has the ability to change the world. Only communities. And communities that can implement awesome tech can change it better. And so we're trying to provide the Giveth DAC and the group of people that are trying to build the Giveth platform. We're trying to provide this technology for people. We run off of donations. We're a complete nonprofit. We believe that if we can't live off of donations and practice we want to practice the use of our platform ourselves, just like ending the DAC that wants to end homelessness in St. Petersburg would have to do. So we live off donations, and we actually try really hard to make sure all of our software is open source and a gift to the community. So we created the Mini-Me token contract, which has been used by a lot of for-profit companies, actually. The Status.im, Swarm City, District OX, and Aragon are all using it. Also, Bitfinex is about to implement it for their decentralized exchange, Ffinex. And the White Hat Group uses it. We use it. Obviously we use it. It's a very useful tool for creating governance structures on the blockchain. It's not the best for rapid transactions because it tracks every block on who has the tokens for each block. So it's great for governance, and that's what it should be used for. At Giveth, we use it as a non-transferable token for governance, which is, and it makes it really easy to vote, and it was a response to a lot of things we saw out of the DAO. As we continue to work on Giveth, we had a big team meeting, I think it was in June, and at the end of the team meeting, we heard about a crazy issue. A friend of ours, actually Swarm City, who uses the Mini-Me token, they called us and said, hey, we think our multisig was hacked. And so Jordy and I started looking at it and trying to diagnose the problem, and unfortunately the problem was very, very simple. It was just drain any wallet that had the same pattern. So we quickly wrote a script and drained every wallet that we could. The whole Giveth team was involved with this, as well as many members of the Ethereum community. And we were able to rescue $210 million of tokens and Ether that were vulnerable to this exploit. You know, rescuing money, stealing money is easy. Sending it back to everyone is a lot of work. But we were able to do it in about a week, and everyone got their funds back. So now with that experience, we actually created, we received a lot of donations from the people that were affected, and we used the Mini-Me token and created a withdrawal contract so that everyone could claim those tokens and Ether that we received, because, well, the White Hat Group and like the core members of the White Hat Group were very important for this. We were not alone, and there were about 30 people who assisted, and so we shared the donations with everyone. One of the biggest White Hat Group members is actually from Ukraine, Alexei. He works with Ambisafe, great guy. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's made his way to St. Petersburg a couple times, because he's an OG in crypto. Big blonde dreads, He worked on Tether and has been in the crypto scene developing for 8 years or something crazy. So he was great. Anyway, Giveth is continuing to push forward. We have a lot of interesting smart contracts, including liquid pledging, which is our core base. And what we're doing with that is allowing any donor who, anybody who wants to give to a charity can actually maintain control of their funds while delegating authority over the choice of which projects to contribute to someone else. And before their money gets locked in a specific project, they have the ability to veto. And if they do not veto within the set amount of time, our default is 3 days, then that money is locked in a certain project for that campaign to use according to what they said. So what's great about this, though, is we can actually use milestones and smart contracts to incentivize the campaigns to continue to progress on their code, on their project. We don't have to send them, like in the current ICOs that we have now, we don't have to send them all the money right away. They don't need it. They just need, if someone wants to build a homeless shelter in St. Petersburg and it costs $500,000 to buy the land and set the foundation and blah, 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 they can just receive maybe $20,000 to get started. Set up the legal entities, get an architect, and then once they do that, they can get another $50,000. And having this big pot of money actually incentivizes the progress of building this homeless shelter. And that's just one of the many ways that people can use this platform, because in the end, Giveth is also an experimental playground for decentralized organizations. We want people to be able to have control of how they implement things. We're going to suggest certain things. For instance, in our organization, for anyone to get paid, they have to make a video that says what they did. Otherwise, they don't get paid. But but not everyone has to implement that. That's just what we've learned and what we believe will be effective. So now we are today, where there is another parity multi-sig hack, and it is unfortunate that we can't be of any help. It looks like we are currently, the rest of the team, because I'm a non-dev, I just kind of project manage. The rest of the team is actively searching for other wallets that have a similar exploit as the parity wallets that were affected today, although we haven't found too many so far. So it should be, hopefully, this will be the end of it, and it's unfortunate that we can't do anything, but we're going to continue to check and make sure that everyone is safe. So yeah, that's my quick little spiel. I really want to open it for questions. I have a couple topics I mentioned, which are DAOs in general, the DAO hack and the white hat groups actions around it, the mini-me token contract, liquid pledging token contract, Giveth, the white hat group in general. We can even talk about Slockit and the DAO. Anything you guys want to know, including, of course, intro to Bitcoin questions or Ethereum questions. So.
Итак, есть ли вопросы в зале? Да, сейчас просьба представляться, чтобы спикер примерно понимал, с кем он имеет честь.
Hi, my name is Paul. We have our own blockchain project. Can you hear? Can you hear? Hello.
My name is Paul.
Yeah, my name is Paul. We are working on a few blockchain projects, and one project that interested me.
We are working. One project that interests me is
is Aragon. On your website, it's working on your platform. Can you talk a bit about that? How it uses your platform? What like benefit it gives to Aragon? Why they need you?
So the question is, what benefit does using the Giveth platform do for Aragon? And what I will say is there are two benefits. First off, Aragon does not use the Giveth platform. Aragon uses the Mini-Me token, which we created and they used in their ICO. This benefits them because the Mini-Me token allows anyone in the world to create a clone token and give it to every Aragon token holder. Now that doesn't seem like too innovative or too crazy, but it was very difficult to do before the Mini-Me token. And why this is awesome is it's because it allows anyone to implement a new feature for that entire community in a permissionless way. This new feature could be a vote, just an opinion. It could be a poll that asks for everyone's opinion, or it could be an actual vote that has some sort of result. And that way the original Aragon token can move freely and be traded, while everyone has this new clone token and they can use that to vote. Also, it could be used for discount tokens or many other applications. The biggest, most important application, in my opinion, is upgradability. There have been many tokens that have had issues in the past with their code. As you can see, Solidity is still a very raw programming language, and we need more tools. But if there is an issue, if there is a bug in the code of Aragon's token, anyone can quickly, the Aragon devs can quickly create a clone token and say, fix the bug and connect that token, give that new token to everybody, and have a solution within a minute or two for this issue with a new token contract, instead of having to take a week to figure out how to find all the token balances and when and all that. So that's the biggest thing. However, I'm very excited to work with Aragon so that they can test, well, a little background on what Aragon does. Aragon is a very similar project to Giveth, except they're working for for-profit companies. They want to allow for-profit companies to create their own decentralized governance protocol using their base layer contracts and their UIs that they build. And then anyone can create their own company on the blockchain. We do a similar thing where anyone can create their own charity on the blockchain. And what I've proposed to them, because we are good friends with Aragon, Luis and Jorge and Tatu, the whole team, Maria, I was hanging out with them all in Cancun this week. We are excited about the opportunity of them testing their platform first on charity before it gets used for a company. Because companies have investors and they have people that might get pissed and sue if there's a problem. And just in general, it's really nice to test your UI and your smart contracts with real money, but in a low-risk environment. So if Aragon just creates a new liquid democracy model, which I can talk about liquid democracy if someone asks, that they want to test for a company, they can actually start a charity. They could say they're in Madrid, so maybe they want to build, I don't know, a food bank in Madrid. So they could propose this, and they could airdrop a $100 donation to every Aragon token holder, and any Aragon token holder that wants to participate in this charity, they could. And that would give them a chance to beta test their UI, their UX, look for bugs in their smart contract. And if there is a big problem, it would be sad that the food bank didn't get built, but at the same time, at least no investors lost their funds, and people that were counting on a return didn't get it. It's just that the world didn't become a better place. And so this low-risk environment is, I think, very appealing to our world. Okay, that was a long answer. I'll try to keep it shorter next time.
Thanks for your answer.
Hi, my name's Neil. It looks like
Hi, Niall.
there are no truly decentralized blockchain communities right now. And it looks like those communities or those blockchains are controlled or ruled or governed by oligarchies, such as minor pools or large stakeholders. You know, can you address this?
I might need the question repeated. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, my point is that right now blockchains are governed by oligarchies, that is, major minor pools or large stakeholders, and that there are no decentralized blockchain communities right now. So do you see a way from the point we are here now to the truly decentralized blockchain communities? Is there a way? Am I clear?
Yeah.
All right.
So to repeat the question, current blockchains are somewhat centralized and controlled by oligarchies that large mining pools, large token holders, and other central points of failure or central points of control. And is there any way to address that? Is that the question? Yeah, was that the question? Okay, so I would agree that we are not as decentralized as we claim to be. There is one core client in Bitcoin, and it's very heavily controlled by Blockstream, and they have an interesting record of manipulating the media and running troll campaigns. And then we also have Ethereum, which has two clients that basically control the whole thing, and lots of very wealthy token holders. And I would say it's a little bit more decentralized, but not by much. In the end, humans tend to follow a power law dynamic, which to me means it's going to be very difficult to not have a certain group of people that end up in control of each blockchain. I am not that hopeful that we will avoid oligarchies in our blockchain tech, unfortunately. But at the same time, what's really cool about blockchain tech is if these oligarchies lose their benevolence, then you don't have to use it. You can go to another token that you believe is less centralized, or at least centralized around people who are benevolent. Right now, in the world today, the most functional form of governance is sadly a benevolent dictatorship. This is shown by the market, as every company uses that model. They have a CEO who is in charge of things. That is something we at Giveth want to change. Giveth, Oregon, Colony, and several other projects are all experimenting with solutions for decentralized governance. And eventually, we will find tools that allow people to govern themselves in a decentralized way effectively, and even outcompete the current governance structure of benevolent dictatorship. But right now, that's not the case. We learned that with the DAO, and it's very evident to see that with Bitcoin, the first DAO, whose governance structure is almost non-existent, and the only way they were able to solve the block size debate was for Blockstream to basically say, listen, we're never hard forking ever, and convince everyone to do SegWit 2x and then bail on the 2x part. I mean, this is the situation we're in. The only way things get done is when there is an oligarchy or at least some central point of control. And it's disgusting. It's horrible. And it's the problem blockchains will solve, in my opinion, although we're not there yet. So I guess we just have to wait and see.
Есть ли еще вопросы в зале? Есть? Гриф, я сейчас отправлю тебе в скайпе вопросы от наших онлайн-участников. Смотри.
Okay.
Да, просьба зачитать их вслух
How did,
и дать ответ.
okay. How did your team set up and manage open source community around your development? So I have several teams. With Slockit and the DAO, I was the community manager, and so we kind of split up into the GitHub management. Okay, guys. Yeah. So, I see that there's a lot of questions, so I'll try to go through them fast. So, setting up the open source community is relatively easy. You just have to constantly be promoting the idea and allowing for radical participation, radical inclusion. When somebody helps, you encourage them. And with Giveth, we actually reward everybody. So every week we actually have $1,000 that we give out, and the core team votes on who will receive those $1,000 based off of their contributions. So a lot of people that are core members actually get some of their funds from there because they don't want to have to worry about money or anything like that. So there's a million ways to do it. Honestly, the most important thing is just to, when someone does something in your community, support them in any way that you can, but especially with words of encouragement. As far as what instruments do we use for communication within the team, GitHub issues, we use Holacracy. So every week we do a meeting in on Jitsi. Jitsi is kind of like a peer in, or you could say Skype, where you can have multiple video calls. Works really well. Jitsi, J-I-T-S-I. And then we use Slack because we haven't been getting hit by we haven't been getting hit by all the spammers yet. So please, if there's any hackers out there, please don't make us switch out of Slack. It's been working really well. But we are not trying to make a lot of money. We're not trying to make money at all, so we haven't been hit by that. But a lot of groups are now moving to Riot and Rocket Chat and Discord. Those are probably the three other Slack alternatives. Let's see, other instrumentations. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Slack. We're going to implement our Giveth MVP really soon to handle a lot of the stuff that we do in Excel spreadsheets as well. We use Google Docs to do a lot of communications so that we can co-write blog posts and just Excel spreadsheets that are useful. What do I think about migration to Wasm and Ethereum? Sounds cool. I can't say that I know a lot about the core parts of Ethereum, but I firmly believe that if Ethereum doesn't continue to upgrade major parts like the EVM, that we will be outcompeted by someone who is willing to start fresh, because technological movement and evolution happens in leaps and bounds, and so it's a lot easier for an incumbent to get past when someone uses completely new technology that's just more effective than what we're currently using. So I hope that we migrate to something to improve the EVM. And eWasm, which is being created by some really smart people, Martin Beasy and many other really incredible people in the Ethereum Foundation and the Ethereum community, it's probably the first upgrade. I mentioned the parity multi-sig contract attack earlier. I think it sucks. You know, the Polkadot team, supposedly they didn't have all of their funds in there, so hopefully they can continue. Economy lost a lot of funds as well, I think, and I feel really bad for them. But I feel honestly, both of those guys should have known better. They had a similar issue, and they're the only two teams that are continuing to use this technique, a multi-sig. Even so, who I really feel bad for are the many users that were implementing this multi-sig just because they downloaded parity and they wanted to create a multi-sig and it was easy. Those are the guys I really feel bad for. Yeah, I'm like, really, my heart goes out to them, and I hope that we can do something for them. What is your opinion about a new way to manage organizations and communities over DAO? For example, Oregon and District OX, and Giveth and Colony, and Backfeed, and DAO House, and there's a lot of other projects that are working on managing organizations, and I don't think I can say much more than what I said before, which is we need better forms of governance, and everyone, all of these people that are experimenting in decentralized governance are heroes, in my opinion, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it. But I will say it's all experimental, and it's going to take a long time before we perfect the solutions. Number 6, can you please describe instruments and frameworks best practices for developing and testing smart contracts. Well, Truffle has a testing suite, and it works pretty well. That's what most people are using, and so because most people are using it, the open source libraries and testing suite gets better and better. I really like some of the tools that Audrey Massanet has built around being able to track code coverage right in your GitHub. If you go to the Giveth Slack, you can see we've integrated Travis to do a full test coverage for every PR to see if the PR breaks any tests before it's merged. It's very convenient. It makes things easy. And then there is nothing. There is no good solution right now, though. I mean, the ideal is that you get it audited by a couple people before and after doing a bug bounty. Smart contract security is a very new field. There isn't a cure-all. So if you're writing smart contracts, your best bet is to use smart contracts that have already been proven and build small things from there. Actually, I saw a really good talk in Cancun by my good buddy Andy, who is working with Dapsys and DAppHub. DAppHub has a couple cool contracts called DSOP, and they use a very secure method where basically they keep all the smart contracts as small as possible and as simple as possible, and they try to build little pieces that can be tested and audited very easily, and then connect them to each other. And the idea is, hopefully, if all these small pieces are safe, and when you aggregate them together, they are also safe. So, I don't know. Those are some ideas. There is, just know that if this is your first go for it, you better get some audits and by good people before you start raising millions of dollars and put in a smart contract. Oh, also, best practice, if you are doing an ICO or something, every time someone sends money, it doesn't go into your experimental ICO contract. It goes straight into a consensus multisig or some multisig that has been tested and proven. And that's where it stays. It doesn't just sit in the ICO contract, which is, a little more risky. Okay. May you compare new generation of smart contract systems, EOS, Definity, Eternity, and Tezos? Well, none of those work. So I can't compare them. EOS is BitShares, I believe. I can't really go into these other projects. I hope they all have success. I am a firm believer that it doesn't matter which tribe you are a part of, as long as you're building tools for decentralization, you are a hero, and you should be rewarded for experimenting in this. So I hope I hope all of these projects, I hope they all do very well. But they're not none of those projects work right now. EOS, Definity, Eternity, and Tezos, none of them have anything you can play with. I mean, maybe they have testnets or something, but you can't write smart contracts in any of them. So. I try to use Whisper, and can I describe my experience? Well, I've used, a few people use Whisper. Swarm City uses Whisper to transfer information, and so does Status, but they're all on testnet. And Whisper right now is still, I would say, an underdeveloped protocol. It works. It works, and it does what it's supposed to do according to its spec, but I know Status wants to use it for chat messaging, and, well, there's some design issues all around it. What's really cool about Whisper is it's kind of what they call a gossip protocol, and you can just say something, and then there will be no long-term record of it. You can just say it, and then it'll be encrypted and passed around, bouncing from node to node, until the people who can decrypt it can listen to it and hear it, and see what it says. And then it just disappears completely. And that's an issue for status, I know, because if, let's say, you turn off your phone for a week, someone sends you a message, it'll just disappear and you'll never have received it. And also, there's no real feedback mechanism at this point to say whether or not you did receive it, so they don't know if they should send it back or not. Whisper is cool. Status and Parity and a few other people are working heavily on it right now, and it's going through a lot of development, so I expect it to change drastically over the next year. Number 9. Have I touched ZK snarks in Ethereum already? Please describe my ideas about smart contract development using zero-knowledge proofs. I have not. I mean, I have seen the test nets. It works. It's very difficult to use. If you want to learn more about ZK snarks and its implementations, I think they're called Zocrates. There's a team working with Christian Reitwiesner and several other really awesome guys in Ethereum that are working on making it easy for people to use ZK snarks in their protocol. What a ZK snark is probably the most advanced cryptography in the world today, and of course that's all being developed within cryptocurrencies, because there's an incentive to advance cryptography in this framework. And what it allows, it basically allows you to submit a really crazy proof. Like, it's really long, a lot of data, and it will say that you sent money somewhere appropriately, and you can use just the proof, the fact that you did this and that it happened. You can use that as the actual send, and you don't have to tell anyone where you sent it or how much it was. And so you can use this really long proof that's very data intensive. I think in Zcash it takes like a minute to generate or something crazy. At least it used to. And then you can actually transact completely anonymously. It's very incredible. And we implemented the core tools, the opcodes that were required in this most recent hard fork, so that ZK snarks could be applied in Ethereum transactions. The most important application for me for this is voting. You don't want, in most cases, you don't want people to have to rely on transparent voting. You want people to be able to speak freely in governance issues. So having that's the big piece for me that excites me about it. Obviously, private money is also important. People can, donate to whatever charity they want without having to worry about someone looking at their address and seeing that they support some project that might be a little more controversial. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't think it'll take long for ZK snarks. I'm telling you that Christian Reitwiesner is like, he runs Solidity, and he does a great job at implementing tools as quickly as possible. And so it's high on his to-do list to make it easy for people to use this. Just know that that's very, very, very gas intensive. So it's a very expensive function. Okay, number 10. What are the challenges to Ethereum scaling? Well, I'm not the best person to talk about this. I almost want to be like, I know Vlad Zamfir is probably a block away. Be like, Vlad, get over here. Tell us about scaling issues. I don't think that the biggest thing is just putting our heads down and working. POS will help us scale a lot. That's proof of stake. The ability to get rid of mining and the latency around pushing blocks to a lot of people that are doing proof of work. That's that's going to help us speed up a lot. And once we get to proof of stake, then you still have this global latency. And so there are some upper bounds as far as passing information around the world, even through central parties. So what's really interesting is the advancements that are starting to be made in sharding. I think for the most part, the Ethereum community has been focusing on proof of stake and getting Casper ready. Carl, Vlad, and Vitalik have been working on that. And they're excited to start working on sharding. And sharding is the ability for different networks to work on different pieces of the Ethereum network without having to have each all the information for all the nodes all in one spot. That's the biggest challenge, is that everyone has to know everything that's happening. So if I put a happy birthday to my mom on the Ethereum blockchain, every miner for the rest of time currently has to have that information on their hard drive. And and what they do is they Merkleize it, and they do have all these tricks to make it smaller so that not everyone has to have that text happy birthday. But it's still, yeah, Merkleize. I don't know how that translates. I'm sorry. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And this is what's cool about sharding and other solutions for scaling, is that when they are discovered, they're not just for Ethereum. Any platform can use it, and I'm sure lots will, especially sharding, at least if Bitcoin's willing to hard fork. Number 11, what is the progress with development of instruments for formal verification of smart contracts? Well, there's a lot of progress. I mentioned Andy Malinas earlier, who works for DAppHub. Their contracts, because they're so small, are much easier to formally verify. Yoichi, who was my old buddy from Slockit. Well, he didn't work at Slockit, but we were going to hire him before the hack. But he is working very hard on formal verification and has created a smart contract language called Bamboo that is, I think, easier to formally verify. Don't quote me on that. I haven't been following that so closely. I just trust a lot in Yoichi and the progress that the foundation is making in this. They have formally verified many contracts. I believe the ENS deed was formally verified. So it's cool. There's progress. But again, this is, everyone in Ethereum is on the forefront of cryptography and network protocols and programming languages. It's all so new. We just have to be patient, unfortunately, and let the geniuses make their magic. Number 12, what is your vision about Plasma, Vitalik's proposal to scalable autonomous smart contracts? So Plasma is pretty cool. I think that it's a really interesting idea to have kind of like this structure of the Ethereum blockchain is the Supreme Court, and then you can have like Plasma layers that are some courts above it. So like a Plasma chain itself can decide a certain amount of consensus. People can use that chain to do lots of things, and this is scalable. This does help scalability because it keeps a lot of information off the Ethereum blockchain, and it's only when validation of the Plasma chain is challenged, when somebody says, "Hey, I don't think so," that you have to go talk to the Ethereum blockchain for validation. But I honestly, I shouldn't be talking too much about Plasma because I'm probably well underinformed. Only watched a couple talks that Vitalik gives. I've never actually had a conversation about it. So I think it's cool. One of the many innovations people are working on. So and Joseph Poon, who created Lightning Network for Bitcoin, is leading the Plasma charge with Vitalik. So I have a lot of faith in those two's ability to build something real. Did I research Polkadot, Gavin's proposal to build a system which allow cross-blockchain communication? I have. I actually gave a presentation with a Polkadot guy in Berlin, where he presented first. I think that it's one of many solutions. You know, I mean, this is the thing. I can't believe that we haven't figured out a cross-blockchain communication protocol layer yet. I'm more excited about the non-ICO versions of this. Although and Polkadot took a big hit today, since a lot of their funds were locked up in this multi-sig. We'll see how that develops. But TrueBit is my favorite. They're building Doge. They're working on building a Doge to Ethereum bridge, and Christian Reitwiesner, actually, whose name has come up a bunch, he actually just created some of the fundamental pieces that they need for that. They will need a hard fork in Dogecoin's protocol, and if they can get that, then they will implement that bridge, and it'll be a good practice for them. What they do is they do they do validation off-chain, and it's kind of cool because they'll actually submit bad information and let it on purpose to encourage validators to check all of the information so that they can collect on when bad information is sent. So that's pretty cool. And Polkadot's cool too, but I don't know if today's the right day to be talking about their technology. Number 14, do you track the progress of development of systems for decentralized storage? MageSafe, SIA, Storj, Filecoin. What problems do you see in this area? Yeah, I do track their progress. MageSafe, I like MageSafe. I really hope MageSafe succeeds. I'm not confident in it because they've been working on it for so long, and they seem to overpromise and underdeliver. SIA is cool. Seems to be working okay. Storj is more like an aggregator. They are using other people's tech to do it. Filecoin is IPFS's layer, and IPFS works today. The biggest problem, and we use it, the biggest problem at Giveth, we use it. The biggest problem is that it doesn't actually allow people to, it doesn't have that incentive layer, and so getting people to host all of your files is really difficult, and that's what Filecoin is going to bring. It's going to bring that incentive layer. And another one that's not listed here is Swarm. Swarm is the Ethereum Foundation's solution that Victor Tron has been working on, and a lot of other awesome people are leading the charge on that. And it's very similar to IPFS, but it's on the Ethereum blockchain, and they have some cool talks too. I think the biggest problem is just probably implementing it and incentive structures for encouraging the storage of data, because for the most part all these projects have the same idea. The data should be stored in a decentralized way with lots of backups and encrypted by default, so that hacks like the Dropbox hack, or like different, so that your file isn't completely owned by one person. Instead, encrypted pieces of it are stored in random locations. Although actually I'm not sure if that's the truth in IPFS. Either way, this is I think that it's a really perfect area for blockchain technology to really shine, as well as like Gnosis and iExec and like sharing resources around computing in general. It just seems like, you know, if you're going to network computers together and create a system of an incentivization system for this decentralized network to provide a service, to a value service to the community, the whole world gets better. So I don't see a whole lot of problems. I think that they will be implemented. We just have to wait and be patient. Do I follow the progress of Augur? They have been in development for a long time, and testnet. What is the main problems with this? What do you think about it? So they were slowed down a little bit because they were using Serpent instead of Solidity, and Serpent was is a programming language for Ethereum. However, it's been recently decided that development had to stop, so they had to switch everything over. I like Augur. I think that they're going to do their thing. They're taking everything seriously, working on testnet. The prediction markets, I'm excited to see how they work and how it's implemented. I don't know. That's not like my favorite part of blockchain tech, prediction markets. Although I think they're cool, I wouldn't say that I follow those projects all that well because they're just not. I'm more excited about decentralized governance. Okay, that's all those questions. I hope I didn't speak too fast. I forgot about the translation. So are there any more questions?
Да, сейчас.
Oh, I can't hear you guys anymore.
Hi, can you tell us a bit about BitNation, which is also a decentralized governance organization?
Hey guys, I can't hear anything that you're saying.
Can you tell us about BitNation, which is also a decentralized governance organization, but for government, not commercial, not charity, but government?
Yep, I can hear you. I only heard that the question was about BitNation, but I didn't hear what the question was. Oh, I don't know much about the organization. They've been around a long time. I would say they do a lot of talking. I haven't seen a whole lot of progress on development, but I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that I appreciate that they are making moves and trying to encourage this idea of like a country run on the blockchain, independent of governments. I really like that idea, but I haven't seen anything magical coming from them. So. So that's it. I don't have much to say.
Гриф, добрый день, меня зовут Сергей. Я хотел бы спросить, могу ли я у вас обратиться к вам с вопросом не как представителю какой-то конкретной платформы, а как лидеру мнений блокчейн-сообщества в целом? Да? Да, если можно, тогда такой вопрос. Очень многие проекты
Well, I would say, oh, so the question is, in general, from the blockchain community, what should a project do to create an ICO before they run the ICO? Thank you, Sergey. in general, I would say that you should figure out why you want to do an ICO. If the reason is just to raise money, well, that's lame. You should be trying to create a token of value. If you want to just make money, then you just make money, and that's cool. There's lots of ways to make money. To me, what's really exciting about the ICOs is that they get to experiment with a new kind of money that we get to create. Every ICO creates a currency, and that currency can be a vanilla ERC20 token that's just there to make money. Fine, okay. You guys just try to raise money for your project. But what really excites me is when an ICO wants to experiment with a new way for that currency to work and a new story behind the money. Because we're experimenting with new currencies, with the creation of, of a new kind of money that you can do cool things with. Maybe you could use demurrage. Demurrage is when the money deteriorates a little bit over time if you hold it. Or you can add governance to anyone who holds it up. Make it. I really like those projects that add governance to the currency, because that's why we invented Mini-Me. But because it's like, talk about voting with your dollar. That's a phrase we have in the U.S. but with cryptocurrency, you can literally vote with your currency, and that's pretty cool. As far as if you really need to do an ICO and what you want to do, you need to build a community. You need to find people who will support you. You need to have a good Solidity developer who has tried a couple things. You really want to copy as much code as you can, and then find other people to audit it before the ICO. Your best bet is also to do a bug bounty and promote that bug bounty. The most important thing is that you have a cool project that deserves an ICO, and that you're providing some sort of value, and you figure out a way for your design, your economic design, to make holding this token a good idea. That people want to have this token because it is useful, because it does something. But if you're just doing an ICO because you want to, start a store or something, or you want to have an online marketplace, you don't need a token. So what you need is a way to raise money. And you know what I would really like to see is somebody who creates a token without raising any money. That's the real test. If you didn't get any money, would you still be able to put value behind your token? If that's true, like Swarm City got hacked. Their token still has value because they are adding value to it. It's going to be a useful token. I don't see a lot of people. I can't say that for all ICOs. So anyway, yeah, build a community. Even if you are just wanting to raise money, I still want to encourage you to do your ICO. I don't mean to talk trash about ICOs. I was just at a conference, and lots of interesting ICOs approached me and talked to me about their project, so I'm a little burnt out, just a tad. But I think everyone should create their own currency, period. And the more ICOs, the better. Just make it cool. Give value to your token. That's what I would say. I lost you. I'm sorry, I couldn't really understand it. The connection was bad. So, to repeat the question, well, okay, hold on. I do have, okay, sure, go ahead. What's the idea? In general, no, I don't really. I don't really like helping people do their ICOs. I'm not. I don't advise ICOs or do anything. So that's not really my place. What I can recommend. So the question was, do you do? How can we connect an ICO? Your ICO is something about movies and music on the blockchain or something along that way, media on the blockchain, and you want to know how you can connect the blockchain to media. Well, I would suggest that instead of trying to do your own ICO and without any support, that you look to other projects that are actually trying to support this. Specifically, Singular DTV is working on this, and they are doing ICOs for other artists. And you could also look at I think there's a consensus project like Fund that is doing an ICO for a movie, a specific horror movie that they raised funds for. So if you, first off, if you just want to raise money for your project, I'm not at all excited. I'm like blown away that you have the, I mean, this is probably good. I'm proud of you that you have the balls to just straight up ask me in a meeting if I will help you on your ICO. That's actually encouraging. I hope you keep that courage. But I'm going to say no. And I would really love it. I really think that you need to just look at other projects and find another way that you don't, if it doesn't seem obvious on how blockchain tech can work, then maybe you should give up the idea and or give up the idea of you coming up with it on your own and seeing how someone else does it already. Okay.
Capital the regular way the startups do, or to try to enter ICO and raise tokens? Yeah, thank you.
I gotta say, I'm the wrong person to ask about how to raise money, period. I have no, I really am not interested in any questions that have to do with that. So, I don't know how to raise money in the real world, and yeah, I'm not into that. So, can we just go to the next question? Sure. Okay, so 16. What are the main challenges for Ethereum and their community from your point of view? Well, let's see. The biggest challenge to me is maintaining solid updates and hard forks. Hard forks are the biggest challenge because they can be contentious, and there needs to be a lot of testing so that there isn't a consensus issue between multiple clients, because Ethereum has two main clients, Parity and Geth, but then there's also Ethereum JS, there's a Haskell client, there's so many clients, and if there's a consensus issue between Parity and Geth, that can be a real issue. But if there's a consensus issue between the other ones, some people will lose money still, or they could potentially, although it's not very likely. But yeah, so I think the biggest challenge is maintaining a steady pace of development, using hard forks to implement huge upgrades, and then avoiding bugs, because Ethereum has a large attack surface. It's a very complicated protocol, so that's the biggest challenge. Let's see. For the community, yeah, and the other big challenge is just maintaining the ethos that really kept Ethereum strong the last 2 years, which is that it's about the technology. It's not about the money. The money is obviously amazing. I mean, come on, anyone who's looking at Ethereum at $300 today, or $290 or whatever it is, has to be dancing because it's up so much. But it's not. That's not why. Anyone who's working on it today that was working on it 2 years ago, they're clearly not money motivated, because by now they could just go buy an island in the Caribbean and retire and enjoy their life. But instead, we are all still working 8-hour weeks and trying to kick ass so that we can, use this technology to make the world a better place. And maintaining that ethos when everyone just wants to make a bunch of money and they don't even care about the technology, it's very, very difficult. Number 17. When will we see the real integrations of blockchain systems and dApps with IoT, and what are the stoppers for this? Well, I think that we will see that actually very soon. I think Slockit has actually demoed it several times over a couple of years, and it is there right now. It's just not scalable. That's the big stopper, is that you can't do it on a large scale. So, but right now, like if we connected an IoT device to the stuff that, I mean, seriously, 2 DevCons ago, almost 2 years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago. Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. My company Slockit used the Ethereum blockchain to open a lock and to make a cup of tea with an IoT device. So the fundamental levels are there. The biggest issue is scalability. That's a showstopper. 18. Could you please tell the story of your research on the bug in the Parity multisig contract? Well, there's 2 of them now, but the research was pretty easy. Basically, somebody called me. It was King Flurkle from Swarm City. And he said, hey, well, actually, it was a WhatsApp chat. And he said, Parity multisig was hacked. Jordy and I started looking at it. We started looking at the code. We just went to Etherscan and looked at the code, looked at the transactions that occurred and what they called, and saw which function they called, which was a init wallet. And we looked at it, and we saw that there was a missing modifier. And so then we tried that on one other multisig, and it worked, and we were able to steal the money out of that multisig. And so then we, I mean, it was a very easy bug. That's the thing. It was just that this function was missing a modifier that should have said private. And yeah, that's too bad. And then so then we just wrote a script so that Jordy could take all the money that was vulnerable that he could. And we wrote a script. Piper Merriam wrote a script, but we beat him to it. Also, Alexi from Ambisafe that I mentioned earlier wrote a script, and he got some. And so we were just racing on all the other hackers, but luckily all the other hackers were good guys because the Ethereum community is awesome like that. But so I don't know. There's much research. It was just being able to read Solidity and understand the code. So 19. Will Ethereum fork to one more chain after a hard fork, which will change from POW to POS? Yes. In fact, they're contemplating doing the next fork to POS. So right now, the next fork is not scheduled yet. They're working on some major issues. And the goal is for contracts to be able to pay for gas. That's the goal of the next fork. So that right now we're in the Metropolis stage. So in the Ethereum roadmap, it was Frontier, which was just working on the core protocol, making sure that that's solid and that it works, and finding bugs and figuring out. I mean, Olympic Frontier. And then Homestead was really so that dApp developers could start working on it and start playing with it and build cool things, and that the resources are there so that people can do this. And then now we're in Metropolis, or we're moving towards Metropolis. Metropolis is more geared towards the users. And one of the we had a hard fork a month ago that implemented ZK snarks and you know, a lot of other cool things. We're going to be able to have error messages, and it reduced the block reward from 5 Ether to 3 Ether and moved back to Ice Age. There are lots of other cool implementations that were added. The next big one, and the core piece of Metropolis to me, is the ability for contracts to pay for fees, mining transactions, so that anyone can just have an address and use it and not have to worry about having to obtain Ether to use the Ethereum protocol if somebody else is willing to pay for them. Right now you have to send a transaction to their address, and then they have to have that gas there, and then they can use it. So that's the next hard fork, and POS development is going faster than expected, and the development around that specific EIP, Ethereum Improvement Proposal, is going a little slower. So it looks like they might even meet, and we will start a hybrid proof-of-stake system where we'll have proof of work going, and then every 100 blocks, there will be a pool of validators that will lock in finality after, you know, so long. So it's a very interesting proof of stake. Is really cool. If you want to learn more about it, I highly recommend you find videos by Carl, who used to work for Consensus and now works for the foundation. He does the best at explaining it, and he's also just the sweetest guy ever, like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Always smiling, always happy. And so I can't recommend his videos enough, and then you can understand more about POS. POS will likely take multiple hard forks to fully implement before we remove proof of work. Be first the one that introduces it so that we can do hybrid proof of stake, proof of work, and then another one that will actually remove proof of work. Okay. There might even be one in the middle. We'll see. Okay. What does your team research and develop right now, and what are your plans? Ooh, cool. Well, I think I'll have to end on this one. And it's a great question. Giveth has kind of 3 teams on it. Although it's not even 3 teams, 3 core areas of focus. The first is our smart contracts. We develop really cool smart contracts. The White Hat group is working really hard to look over the safety of smart contracts, as well as design really cool smart contracts like liquid pledging, yoga token, mini-me token, and withdrawal contracts, and milestone contracts, and all these really cool all these cool smart contracts that we think are useful for the community. And everything we do is completely open source, and we push it out there so people can use. But we have two other areas of focus. The next big one is the core development process, like the actual development of our application, our what we call a donation application, our DApp. Our DApp is, just like any other application, it follows a regular development stream. Designer, a UI guy, front end, all the back end, all that stuff, and that core team is working on our core product, which is our actual app. But then we have another research team that's trying to figure out how to use that app effectively and how to model decentralized governance systems. And so we've created different approaches, and every couple of months we actually change the way we run our organization, not because it's more efficient. I mean, if I wanted to run an efficient organization, I would be CEO, Jordy would be CTO, we'd raise some money, and we'd actually just do it the old-fashioned way, the way that we know works. But that's not what we want to do. We want to create decentralized governance. We want to build tools for other people that want to implement decentralized governance. And so we have a team dedicated towards practicing with those tools, modeling those tools, investigating how we can use them most effectively, and implementing them for our own organizations to beta test, even though it's inefficient, even though it's not the most effective way to even use the funds that we receive. I mean, honestly, it almost hurts me because, like, I know we could do a better job at being efficient with our resources. If our goal was just to build this technology, just to build this application, then we could do it for much less than what we're spending. It sucks. But the thing is, that's not our goal. Our goal is to build this application and figure out how to use it as effectively as possible. And that takes research and experimentation. And there's no way to make research effective and efficient other than just to do it and try it and fail fast. I think we've gone through 4 different economic models for our own organizations. And we're going to implement a 5th in a month. And we're going to probably change that soon too. Well, what's really cool about our next implementation is we actually have 3 different, because we have these 3 core areas, we'll probably have 3 different reward mechanisms for them. And like governance structures for how smart contracts, how do people who make our smart contracts get paid, how do people who build the core product get paid, and how the people that research how to use the core product get paid. And also, we will have, likely when we implement this, we'll also have our core product on mainnet, and we'll use it ourselves. And that way we can really start diving in. So that's what we research. That's what we develop. We develop, this system of pledges. You know what? I should actually really quick just explain how it works. So, like, we have our ending homelessness in St. Petersburg DAC, and let's say that Daria is really excited about helping them, so she donates to the DAC. And I don't know, one of the translators is actually a delegate. I wish I knew one of your names. Is there? Well, Sergey. Sergey asked a question, and he's also a delegate inside of this DAC, along with the translators. And he follows the proposals for people who want to help homeless people in St. Petersburg really closely. And he kind of is always watching. Whereas Daria has a lot of stuff going on. She's starting this whole blockchain thing. And, there's a lot of work to be done. So she wants to help homelessness, but she can't follow all the details. So she delegates authority over her donation to Sergey. And that just happens automatically when she sends it into the DAC. She wants to donate towards homelessness, it goes there. And then Sergey will actually find a project that will support that. So maybe he finds a guy, well, there's like the project that wants to build the homeless shelter, right? So he'll allocate funds there, and then that project will either succeed or fail. If it fails, he gets it again. And Daria, of course, could veto, but she's happy for the homeless shelter, so she doesn't veto. But project can't do it because for some reason, St. Petersburg, the government decided that they couldn't build their homeless shelter, so they couldn't get the permit. So the money went back, and the donation she had was never used, so it went back. And now he found another person who's just a hero in the community. He literally just, this campaign is just this one guy. And he just wants to go out and support homeless people. He wants to take them in and take them into his apartment. He has a spare bedroom, and he lets them crash there, lets them shower, helps them find a job and all these things. And he's just constantly doing this every day, taking a new person in, working with them until he's decided that until they either can find a job and take care of themselves, or he has to kick them out because they aren't able to solve the problem. It's a very tough gig, and the guy is really awesome, and he just wants to be able to do this with his life. Almost like a nun who gives up their life to God. This guy wants to just give up his life towards helping homelessness in St. Petersburg. He has his apartment that he's got to pay for. He has, he would like to build some sort of savings. He has these costs, and he'd like to make some money while he does this because that's how he survives. And so he just puts all of his bills online, and people can donate to him to pay his bills, and that's it. He doesn't have to start a 501c3 or any kind of charity. Doesn't have to do any bureaucracy. All he has to do is take the ether he gets and turn it into money, and then he can go about his day the way he wants, which is helping homeless people. So that's how Giveth Hope. Oh, and what's really cool is that Daria, if she went away for 5 years and then came back, she could see exactly how her money was spent. She could see that it went to this failed project that wanted to build a homeless shelter but couldn't, and then went to this guy who was just an awesome hero. And she can even contact all of these people, because that's the biggest part of Giveth, is that we connect all the people who care about homelessness in St. Petersburg in this situation. They all automatically get added to the same chat room, and anytime that Daria's money gets passed around, she gets to connect to the people who are touching her funds. So it's a very exciting project. Our team is working really hard. We think that we'll get our DApp on mainnet really soon, and then we'll use it for ourselves. And then we have a roadmap. We're going to use it for MyEtherWallet's donation. And MyEtherWallet's is the best wallet, I think, in crypto. And you can use that for any of your tokens or Ether. And then from there, we'll maintain a closed beta and work with other people who want to start charities from there on out. So yeah, so that's the status of Giveth, and I should probably continue looking at what's going on with the White Hat Group and Parity Multisig. But thank you guys so much. It was really fun. Thank you so much for the awesome questions. It was really, I had a blast answering them. And thank you, Daria, and to the translators who set this up and made it so I could communicate to you guys on the other side of the world.
Интересную беседу. Надеемся увидеть тебя еще у нас. Спасибо.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Ну, мы все.